Thank you, Speaker, Deputy Speaker. This bill tells us that the government does not want women to be equal. And you don't have to dig around and string an argument together based on things people have said outside the chamber to make that very clear. It is clear from the word itself. This bill is the government saying that it is implementing the recommendations of one of the most significant reports that this parliament has seen for a long time. It was a wide-ranging report into sexual harassment and mistreatment at work, led by Professor Kate Jenkins, whose work on behalf of the Greens I want to join with others in applauding. And that report said to us very clearly that what we needed to do was to put into law a basic principle that the legislation should aim for equality for women. And instead, the government isn't even prepared to do that. The government comes up with a bill that says, well, we'll aim for equality of opportunity as far as is practicable. So in other words, the government is bringing in legislation that says women will continue to remain unequal. But they're only even bringing this legislation before the parliament because they have been dragged kicking and screaming by the women of Australia to act and to implement the report. The tens of thousands of women who marched around Australia in response to and in support of the brave statements from people like Brittany Higgins, who stood up and showed enormous courage to hold their systems and also their perpetrators to account. There was a widespread support for women finally standing up and lifting the lid on the bad behaviour of men, including in this parliament. And I was very proud, together with many of my Greens colleagues, to go and join and lend my support to those women when they came up here. But they never should have had to do it. They never should have had to do it, because the change that we need, including in our laws, but also in our behaviours, is change that men need to make. Change that men need to make about the way that they act, but also that men needed to make to the laws of this country. And we had this report, this Respect at Work report, sit with the Attorney General, then Attorney General Christian Porter, for over a year before even a press release was issued. And then when they bring a bill to this parliament, it fails to do what they have been asked to do, not only by the Respect at Work report, but by the tens of thousands of women across Australia who have been marching and demanding change. It's not only the failure to legislate for equality that needs to be condemned in this bill, but also the failure to do the single central thing that the report said needed to happen, which is to change the law to require employers to make sure their workplaces are safe. That is the thing that needed to happen. It happens in workplace health and safety, and there's very simple reasons for that, because it is often very difficult to find that someone has committed an offence, done something that has discriminated against or harassed someone or made a workplace unsafe. Because often, as we know, it takes a lot of courage to speak up. So we changed the law with respect to health and safety to make sure that employers have a positive obligation to create a safe workplace. And that's what Professor Jenkins wanted us to do in the law here as well, regarding discrimination. And it is the right move, and the government won't do it. The government will not make employers ensure that their workplace is safe. And the tragedy is, when these bills were going through the inquiry stage, everyone across the political spectrum and across the worker-employer divide as well all supported changing the law to make sure that workplaces were safe. It was something that had widespread support because it would have made a huge difference, because it would have shifted the culture in this country, and it would have helped ensure that everyone could go to work and know that they could work in a workplace free from harassment and violence. But the government has refused to do that. These changes should have been implemented by men, changes to behaviour, changes to the law, and they haven't, and we continue to see today the refusal of this government to do the things that are necessary to make sure that every woman everywhere knows that their workplace will be safe. There are many other things that are not being implemented that should have been implemented in this bill, including 10 days family and domestic violence leave. But I want to, rather than go through all of those amendments, because the government has only given us very limited time to deal with this because they have dragged the chain for so long, I want to acknowledge the work of our leader in the Senate, Senator Larissa Waters, who has led the charge on behalf of the Greens, both in Parliament and outside, to ensure that the amazing work of the Respect at Work report is implemented and turned into law. And I want to note in that respect that the amendments that were moved in the Senate by the Greens, and where we worked cooperatively with Labor, and I think are reflected in the amendments that are being moved by the opposition in the House here, are amendments that we will support. They got significant support in the Senate, and they should get support here as well. Because what I fear and what we fear is that once the government has passed this legislation, they'll show no appetite to come back and close those other loopholes and improve the law in the way that the Respect at Work report asked us to. So we'll be supporting these amendments that we worked together on in the Senate, and I commend them for being moved. With that, Mr Deputy Speaker, given the short period of time that the government has allowed for such an important debate, support the amendments, and of course some of the elements of the bill do go some way of implementing the Respect at Work report, so we'll be supporting that. But this bill demonstrates that this government is anti-women, does not want equality for women, and on behalf of the Greens and on behalf of all of our senators, I pledge we will keep fighting to ensure that the voices of those who have marched on this place and who continue to burn with anger will be heard until the law is changed.
The question is that the amendment be disagreed to. I call the honourable member for Newcastle.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I too rise to make a contribution to this debate today and to strongly endorse the amendments moved